At the beginning of the 20th century, in Normandy, a boy named Christian DIOR was born into an ordinary family. The family dreamed that he would make a career in politics, become a serious person, an influential figure who would rule and decide destinies. But his heart lay in a completely different direction. Instead of speeches and plans, he loved colors, lines, and shapes. He could not imagine life without drawings. And here you can imagine a small picture from his childhood: a quiet room, an open window, the wind waving the curtain, and on the table sheets of paper, scattered pencils. Little Christian bent over them, drawing flowers and dresses, as if this was his only language of communication with the world. The adults looked at it with skepticism. Some laughed, some shook their heads. What's the point of this? Drawing? Flowers? It's not serious. But he saw more in these drawings than just an exercise. He felt that beauty could change the mood, that form and color could touch people's hearts. Since childhood, he was extraordinary not only because of his talent, but also because of his kindness. He helped friends, encouraged those who were sad, sincerely listened to everyone. It was important for him not only to create something for himself, but also to give warmth to others. His dream grew out of this desire, to make the world more beautiful and kinder, but there was a completely different life around him. The world was preparing for war, and instead of beauty, everyone was talking about money, politics, survival. The contrast was stark: a small room that smelled of flowers and paper, and voices demanding that he choose a serious path. But he persisted. As a child, he learned the most important lesson: to create beauty, you must have the courage to go against the rules. And perhaps his greatest gift was not that he could draw, but that he could remain kind in a world that constantly forced him to be harsh. And it was this kindness that would one day become the heart of the great empire that we all know today as DIOR. Life very quickly showed Christian that dreams are always tested by reality. After a calm childhood, storms came. His family, which had once lived confidently and prosperously, lost everything. The family business went bankrupt. In the house, where only yesterday they talked about success and future plans, now there was silence filled with anxiety. For the young DIOR, this was the first strong blow. He saw how easily what seemed eternal could collapse. His own path was not easy either. He tried to follow the right route that others had chosen for him, tried to be a politician or a diplomat, but felt that his soul was resisting. And when the family support fell, he was left alone with his passion for drawings and fashion. In Paris, he tried to earn a living by selling his sketches. Imagine these scenes: cold streets, the noise of trams, cobblestones underfoot. He walks with a folder in his hands, in which his drawings are neatly folded. Each page is a piece of his soul, his dream, which he tries to convey to the world. He enters the workshops, knocks on the doors, shows his works. Often he is met with indifference or refusal, sometimes with a slight smile, saying, "The talent is there, but we are looking for something else." It hurt to be rejected over and over again. But he didn't stop. Even when he returned home with empty pockets, he continued to paint. It was important for him not to lose faith, because in his heart lived a certainty: beauty must always be carried forward, even if it is not recognized immediately. And he remained the same kind Christian. Friends who were also struggling to survive in Paris remembered that in the darkest days, he could share a last piece of bread, give advice, or just listen. He knew how to see the pain of others, even when he himself was going through difficulties. Then came the war. The world was plunged into chaos. Many young people lost their meaning, their dreams burned in the fire. For Christian, it was also a period of testing. Imagine Paris in those years: dark streets, alarm bells, food shortages. People lived from one day to the next. And yet, even then, he did not abandon his calling. In a small circle of friends, he spoke simple but powerful words: "Beauty will save us, even in the darkest times." He continued to sketch, even when it seemed pointless, because for him, drawing meant living. And in a strange way, this inner stubbornness, combined with kindness, attracted people to him. He was trusted. He was respected even by those who did not understand fashion, because he was one of the few who did not lose his humanity in the midst of destruction. These years taught him the main thing: in a crisis, it is important not to lower your head. When everything is falling apart, that is when you need to continue creating. Not for fame, not for money, but in order to preserve your soul. And although it was difficult for him, every rejection, every cold winter, every defeat formed a new strength in him. He understood that true beauty is born not in comfort, but in the darkness, where someone alone is still able to light a candle. These trials prepared Christian for the moment when fate would finally give him a chance. But before that, he had to learn a key lesson. Beauty has power when you share it with others, even if you yourself are on the verge of survival. This was the beginning of his revival. Paris after the war was wounded but alive. People wanted to feel the taste of life again, looking for light among the ruins. And it was at this time that Christian Dior got his first real chance that he continued to draw, day after day, year after year. His sketches gradually began to be noticed. At first, he worked as an illustrator in small magazines. His drawings were different from others. They had a softness and tenderness that were so different from the harsh reality of the post-war years. His style told people, life can be beautiful again. Then he was invited to collaborate with several famous couturiers. It was not glory, not the pinnacle, but it was a step. Imagine the scene, a small workshop, the noise of Paris. Outside the window, and he sits at a table next to fabrics and creates sketches that will one day appear on real catwalks. For him, it was incredible. His dream was finally taking shape. But even at this time, when he was still learning, he did not stop being kind. He did not compete with his colleagues, did not try to get around anyone. On the contrary, he always helped young designers, gave them tips, advice, shared what he knew. His friends said, it is easy to work with him because he does not think only about himself. And it was this trait that made him special, but the war left its mark. Paris was a city of contrasts, glittering parties for the elite and hungry, families in cramped apartments. In this chaos, Christian remained a bright person. He often shared what little he had and said, fashion only makes sense when it gives people joy and not just decorates their bodies. It was then that he began to formulate his vision. He did not want to make things just for beauty or for rich clients. He dreamed of creating a fashion that would return to women a sense of dignity, happiness, and strength. Because after the war, people were tired of the darkness. They longed to breathe again with full breasts. His career was going up step by step. And then one day a meeting happened that changed everything. His work was seen by the influential textile magnate Marcel Boussac. He immediately felt something unique in Dior. Not just talent, but sincerity, the ability to create beauty that could touch hearts. It was a moment that felt like fate. Boussac decided to take a risk and gave Christian the opportunity to open his own fashion house. To the world, it was just a business deal. But to Dior, it was the chance of a lifetime. Imagine this scene. They are standing in a small office, documents on the table, pen in hand. Christian is a little nervous, but there is fire in his eyes. He signs the papers and realizes that from today on he has a chance not only to draw, but also to build. This was a bold move. After the war, Paris was full of designers struggling to survive. But it was Dior who had something that others lacked. A belief in beauty that could heal souls. His small house on Avenue Montaigne was not yet famous, but already there was a sense of something great in it. The quiet corridor, the smell of fresh paint on the walls, the first Dior sign on the facade. This was the beginning of a story that would soon change the world. Christian believed that if he could give people a new vision of beauty, they would follow him. And this was the next turning point. Because very soon he would show the world a collection that would turn the whole idea of fashion upside down. The end of 1946. Paris was gradually rising from the ruins of war. People were learning to live, laugh, and dance again. But the streets were still tired, the stores were short, and the hearts were still aching from loss. It was at this moment that Christian Dior got his chance to do what he had dreamed of all his life, to create his own fashion house. Marcel Boussac, the richest textile magnate in France, gave him financial support. For the businessman, it was a strategic decision. For Christian, an event that could change his fate. He received a small house at 30 Avenue Montaigne. It was not a huge villa or palace. A small stone building with narrow windows, a few rooms, and a long staircase that creaked underfoot. But for Dior, it was a temple. It was here that he planned to open the door to a world of new beauty. Imagine this first scene. A cold winter morning. Inside, the fresh paint still smells. On the wall is a new sign, Christian Dior. It shines simply but confidently. To passers-by, it is just another fashion house among dozens of others. 4. Christian, it is a symbol. His name is now on the facade. His dream is becoming a reality, but along with the dream came fear. He understood well that in the fashion world of Paris at that time, there was a real war for attention. There were many couturiers, everyone was trying to stand out. And it seemed, why another one? Who would believe in an unknown designer who had only just got his chance? And yet, in Dior's heart, an idea lived. He saw women after the war, tired, dressed in practical suits, with serious faces. And he dreamed of giving them something different. He wanted to give them a new life through beauty. He told his team, "We don't just create dresses. We give women back joy, freedom, the feeling that they are beautiful." He worked with incredible concentration, days and nights in the studio, dozens of sketches falling to the floor as he searched for the perfect line. The rustle of fabrics, the clatter of scissors, the whir of sewing machines, all of it merged into a symphony of a new beginning. His assistants recalled, Dior was not only a designer, but also a person who knew how to listen. He never shouted at his seamstresses, always thanked them, even for the smallest work. He saw each member of the team not just as an employee, but as a co-author. This created an atmosphere of warmth and inspiration in his house, which many competitors lacked. And then came the day he decided to show the world what he had been working on. In February 1947, Christian Dior was preparing his first major fashion show. It was his moment of truth. He knew, either he would change the world of fashion or he would remain another name in a long list of failures. Imagine the tension of that day. A small hall, rows of chairs filled with journalists, photographers, and socialites. A silence broken only by the rustling of fabrics backstage. And Christian, standing to the side, clasps his hands and waits. There is only one thought in his head. Let them see the beauty that I see. And when the first model stepped onto the catwalk, an earthquake occurred in the fashion world. February 1947. Paris was still recovering from the war, but its air was already filled with a breath of new life. And then, in a small house on Avenue Montaigne, an event occurred that would change the world's perception of fashion. Christian Dior, a man who had worked, dreamed, and failed his whole life, showed the world his first collection. It received the name that the world would later remember forever, New Look. It was something revolutionary. Fluffy skirts, a narrow waist, flowing lines that reminded of femininity and elegance. Women who were accustomed to the practical, strict costumes of the post-war era, for the first time saw themselves in a new way, graceful, light, alive. Every detail of the collection screamed, the world has changed, and you can change with it. Imagine this moment. The show hall, rows of chairs, the tense expectation of journalists and socialites. Already behind the scenes, you can hear the rustle of fabrics, the click of heels, and the whispers of models. Dior stands to the side, a little nervous, clasping his hands. There is only one thought in his head. Let them experience my vision. And when the first model steps onto the podium, the silence is replaced by an explosion of emotions. The hall is filled with exclamations, cries of admiration, and the clicking of cameras. His collection instantly became a sensation. The new look didn't just surprise Paris, it shook the world. Journalists called him a revolutionary, critics argued, but everyone admitted, fashion after Dior would never be the same again. Every woman who tried on his dress felt more than just clothes. She felt a rebirth, a faith. It was a moment of triumph, but also of enormous risk. Dior understood that his choice was a bold one. He could have become an icon, or he could have become a ridiculous, forgotten designer who dared to break the rules. And he took the risk, because it is those who are ready to take bold steps who change history. And at the same time, even in this moment of glory, he remained the same good Christian. He took care of the team, thanked the seamstresses, listened to the assistants. He taught, fashion is not only about the fabric, but about the people who create it and wear it. His success became an example of how you can reach the top without losing your humanity. After the new look, international shows began, orders from New York, London, Milan. His name became a symbol of elegance, courage, and pure beauty. The world of fashion changed forever, and it was at that moment that it became clear Christian Dior did not just create clothes. He gave the world a new era. This breakthrough was the culmination of all his life lessons: patience, self-belief, hard work, and sincerity. He proved that true beauty is born where there is the courage to dream and do, despite fear, loss, or uncertainty. Asterisk, the world has changed. Paris, which once welcomed Dior after the war, has now become a global fashion capital that looks to the whole world. But with fame came new challenges. Fashion ceased to be just an art form. It became a business, technology, media, and a global show. And even a giant like Dior could not stay still. New generations of designers, competitors from Asia, America, even digital brands, all were looking for their niche. And the main question was, how to stay in the center when the rules of the game were constantly changing? For a fashion house, this meant more than just releasing beautiful collections. It was necessary to listen to customers, understand global trends, introduce innovations, without losing the spirit that Christian Dior created. Imagine a huge office on Avenue Montaigne, where creative chaos reigns. Design teams discuss collections, marketers think about global campaigns, fashion critics write reviews, and photographers prepare shows. Voices intertwine, fabrics rustle, and someone quietly repeats the words of the founder: fashion is not just clothes, it's a story we tell the world. Dior has learned to transform crisis into fuel. The pandemic, economic fluctuations, changes in buyers. All this became a chance for reinvention. They did digital shows, interactive collections, collaborated with new artists, while maintaining the classic spirit of the house. Every step was a risk, but at the same time an opportunity to demonstrate that the brand is able to adapt. And it is this ability to remain true to its principles without losing its humanity that makes Dior special. The team continues to work together, as Christian Dior once did with his seamstresses. They learn to listen to customers, value creativity, and believe that each collection is a chance to give people emotion. Modern Dior is not just about luxurious fabrics and glittering catwalks. It is the story of how the brand has survived and thrived in a world that is constantly changing. It is about the courage to take risks, about the love of detail, about supporting those who work with you. And even on a global scale, the same values remain: quality above all, belief in beauty, kindness, and sincerity. Each new collection is a continuation of the legacy of Christian, who once believed in himself and in the power of beauty. Each new fashion campaign reminds us that fashion is not just a trend, but a story that touches hearts. And even today, a decade after the first breakthrough of the new look, Dior continues to inspire, make us dream, and prove that true beauty always finds its way.